everyone, and welcome to the webinar on AI-driven benchmarks and how we're revolutionizing transfer pricing consultant work. Today, we're going to delve into a very exciting topic because we're going to talk about the first practical implementation of the new generation of AI to practical problems in our transfer pricing profession. My name is Boris, and I'm a founder and CEO of Arm's Length AI. We're a startup in transfer pricing area that streamlines transfer pricing projects with AI tools, delivering high-quality results in record time while ensuring data security and quality of the results. And benchmarking studies was one of the problems that we started working on several months ago, and we're happy to present our product today along the way with other topics that we will be discussing. And together with me, Matej, over to you.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Matej Bor. I'm a junior associate at TPA Global, which is a medium-sized transfer pricing enterprise seated in Amsterdam. We are already implementing the products of the benchmarking products of Arm's Length AI currently. I was responsible from the implementation from our side. That's why I'm here as well, to share with some experiences with you all.
Great. Thank you, Matej. All right. So what are we going to discuss today? We'll start with why applying artificial intelligence to benchmarking studies is a problem. Does it make sense? Why it makes sense? And why benchmarks? Why not other areas? We will then talk about how it actually works, and we will do a short demo. We'll discuss key benefits and why it makes sense and what you can expect to get from implementing the technology. We will talk about overcoming common concerns that many transfer pricing professionals have when they look at this technology and start using it or have the first impressions. Then Matej will talk about TPA's global journey and how they are implementing this technology in their practice. And we will finish with some practical steps and next steps that you can take to start using it or to at least try using it in your practice. So why AI for transfer pricing benchmarks? Why should you even consider using artificial intelligence to this problem? To answer the question, we will need to start from a quick recollection of what transfer pricing benchmarking studies actually are. Today, we are going to primarily talk about benchmarking studies and comparability analysis that involves comparable companies and where we use databases like TP Catalyst or other Bureau van Dijk databases or some other available alternatives on the market. But the principles that we will be discussing and the way the technology works can be applied to other types of benchmarks, for example, royalty benchmarks and royalty agreements. But let's just quickly recollect how the process typically looks like. So what you do first is you're selecting appropriate database with some financial and market data that you're going to use in your benchmarking process. By default, for company benchmarks in Europe, for example, this is TP Catalyst database or other BVD database. Then you're defining the criteria. So you're setting the parameters like industry, size, geography of the companies that you're looking for, and some functions and products that you're searching for or services that you're searching for. So like you're defining the ideal comparable company that you're looking for. And then based on that, you're breaking this down into some quantitative criteria that you can apply in the database or later in Excel. And then you also have some softly defined criteria, qualitative criteria, like what functions are we searching for, what products we're searching for. We're extracting then the data from the database, and we're applying some automatic filters to refine the data using some quantitative and qualitative thresholds, again, like revenue threshold, some ratios like amount of inventory or inventory ratios, intangible asset ratios, etc. Every firm may do that a little bit differently, but the principle is the same. Those are easy filters to apply because they are pretty well defined. You just apply them to the whole set and you get a set of companies, which is typically, again, depends on the company we're working with, but it can be between 50 to sometimes even 1,000 companies. But most of the benchmarks are around 300 companies that need to be manually reviewed, which means that you need to look at those companies, read the descriptions about those companies, visit company websites, and make certain decisions about accept either you want to accept them or you want to reject them. And again, based on the criteria that you defined earlier. And this is an iterative process often, so you will do some manual review, you won't be happy with the results, you can go to the filters, you can redefine them, you can tweak the strategy, redefine the criteria, so it's not always linear process, but in most of the cases, it's rather linear with some back and forth at some stages. And then let's talk about like what are actual resources and how much time you spend in each step. So selecting appropriate database is not a time-consuming process because, again, like there is a pretty limited choice, based on the transaction and type of business model you're testing. It's a quick decision, but it requires transfer pricing expertise, and you know what you are doing. It requires specific understanding of both available options and the situation that you're in, have some experience in TP to do that. Criteria definition, same. Defining the criteria themselves is a relatively fast process, but again, requires a lot of transfer pricing expertise to define them correctly, know what you will be searching for. Extracting the data, relatively fast process, doesn't require much of TP expertise because you can teach anyone to do that, just extracting the data from the database. Once the criteria are defined, anyone can do that. Applying automatic filters, again, if the criteria are defined, then automatic filters are also relatively easy. Again, no TP expertise required. And then the manual review is typically the most time-consuming process, which takes on average about 90% of time spent on the benchmarking studies, from 80 to 90% based on our surveys. And again, it doesn't require a lot of transfer pricing expertise. You need to know what you're doing, but oftentimes you will see many firms actually outsourcing doing manual reviews to someone who is not a professional transfer pricing expert with many years, but someone who is either junior or just a third-party firm which can do manual reviews. The reason for that is that it's extremely time-consuming, therefore costly, and it doesn't require a lot of expertise. Of course, there are additional steps like drafting the report and a few other editing things, but those are outside of our analysis today because those are just supplementary activities. And why is AI potentially relevant to benchmarking studies? So there were a few studies published recently. One that I love the most and bring up in each webinar by Boston Consulting Group, where they gave ChatGPT to their advisors or consultants, and then they measured how better and how faster people work with ChatGPT versus without ChatGPT. And to summarize the studies that we have seen so far, we observe substantial productivity increase, substantial time efficiency, and improvement in quality of work among employees that use AI technology. And many of transfer pricing and tax problems are very close to what Boston Consulting Group is doing and what other consulting companies are doing. Therefore, generally, when I started arm's length AI, I had a strong belief that AI can bring benefits and can bring value to transfer pricing professionals. It's a matter of finding the right way, the right time, and the right problem to apply to. And our current situation shows that benchmarking studies is one of them. So why benchmarking studies? Why not other areas? Transfer pricing includes a lot of different tasks, and there are some tools that we have developed for other problems, but benchmarking studies is the most scalable, which brings the most value and time savings in short time. Why? So let's think about AI applications. This is the framework that was and that is now pretty well fits into analyzing different use cases when it comes to artificial intelligence and where it should be used. So we have risk of failures here, and we have process volume here. So what this graph is saying is that if the risk of AI failures is very high and errors can be very problematic, while the workload, so amount of time you spent on this task and number of times you do the task is relatively low, then you want to avoid using AI in those applications or use it in very limited capacity. In contrast, if there is a very high volume of work to be potentially augmented with AI, while errors are easily caught and can be predicted and can be analyzed and algorithm can be improved, that's where priority applications lay. So that's where you may want to use large language models, which is the term where we define things like ChatGPT and other AI models like Claude to use, right? So, and then if you think about benchmarking studies, this is a very high volume of work that if you look at all transfer pricing related work made by humans in the world, then doing manual reviews in benchmarking studies is obviously, it's not like 50% of time, but it's still a very substantial time if you look at total workload that transfer pricing generates. And many people who are more experienced in transfer pricing and work already for 10 years or more already forgot that there are teams in the sometimes in other locations or their junior colleagues which actually spend most of their time doing benchmarking studies. But you need to remember about that. That actually happens, and that costs a lot of money and a lot of time. And moreover, in benchmarking studies, we have pretty defined criteria, and we can build algorithms that will allow quoting errors and improving the algorithm over time, and also allowing humans to verify the results. That's why TPA benchmarking studies is actually a very good application of AI in transfer pricing area. But if you look back to all the transfer pricing process, then it doesn't make much sense to automate it with AI end-to-end, because most of the time spent is actually in manual reviews. So if you will automate things like selecting appropriate database or defining the criteria or extracting the data, you won't save as much time. And then you will try to delegate to AI often tasks that are actually pretty sensitive, that are strategic, and that may substantially change the result of the whole analysis. That's why my strong belief that we are implementing in our product is that manual review is where you want to focus on. That's where AI may bring the most value. And the rest of the steps is not where AI will help you. Or we will need to very cautiously think about like how to use it in other problems within TP benchmarking space. But manual review is an obvious choice. And how do we approach that? How do we think about that? So we are using what is called Centaur model or CoPilot, right? So that's like, we are not automating manual review 100% with AI. We are building a model where human and AI work together to deliver the best performance and the best result. And then each of in this pair performs tasks where it is best. So where the human or AI is better suited. Then human controls AI very closely and verifies the result. And the goal is to minimize the time spent on those tasks, but maximize the quality at the same time. So what we want to get at the end is not a one-click benchmark. All right. So we do not believe at this point that one-click benchmark is something that is possible with the quality that most people want. We believe that there is a CoPilot model where humans and AI work together to minimize time and maximize the quality. And it's better to save 80% of time and while improving the quality, comparing to save 98% of time, but quality will be poor, right? So that's our belief. And that's an illustration, basically. So human, along with AI, does the task. Let's now talk about how it actually works and what does the AI benchmark solution by Arm's Length AI actually do. It actually replaces human basically in some of the tasks. So instead of human, AI is accessing the company website and other information available. Again, depending on the type of benchmark, it's either only website information. In some instances, those can be annual reports. For some applications, we're working on royalty benchmarks where it will be reading royalty agreements, for example. Then it is extracting, understanding, and analyzing information and prepares extracts, summaries, and descriptions from the information available. And then it makes, based on human criteria, human-defined criteria, it makes initial accept and reject decisions. and then it iterates based on your feedback and learns basically, either itself or with the help of human feedback. That's only the AI part of the work, right? And obviously, AI benchmark by arm's length AI is not just AI. It's much more than that. Unfortunately, at this point, AI itself, even the most advanced models and the most advanced general purpose applications like ChatGPT cannot do benchmarking studies. So our application is much more complex than that. And we need to answer much more questions. So for example, how do you access websites? How do you know did you access the website? Did you access the right website? Did you get the right information? You need to define how to use that information and how to verify it and cross-verify it. How do you store the audit trail, or how can you explain and support different decisions that are made by AI? How should humans verify AI results? How to make it work fast, and what to do if the result is wrong. So there are few questions that need to be answered by each person who thinks about applying AI. And we at Arm's Length AI have our own answers to those questions. And now I will show you basically how our application works in real life scenario. We will just take a small sample of companies and run through the whole process. And I will also explain you how human works along with the AI and how it verifies the results to make sure the outcome is the best. All right, now I'll show you how AI benchmarks by Arm's Length AI work. As the first step, you need to import the companies that you want to analyze. So what you can do is, after you extracted the data from your database, you can copy and paste company details. You just need company name, country, and company website here. So you're pasting them. And here we will be operating a relatively small set of companies just to demonstrate you live how the technology is working. It quickly validates the links. So, and in some cases, there may be no website, for example, in the database. So here's a company called Sigma Pharmaceuticals in Great Britain with no website. We have the button here where it will redirect you to Google and show you if there are any good search results for this company. And I see here that there is an official website of this company, it seems. And what we can do, we can just copy this link and paste it here. So this way, you can very quickly add missing links to your initial set. Maybe popular question would be like, can AI find official websites and put them here? It can, but for now, we decided to disable this feature just to make sure that humans have a better control over what is happening. Remember, we are talking about co-piloting, so we want those critical decisions to be made by humans. And since most of the database now are pretty high quality, have most of the companies, we believe that this part of the work can be done by humans. So here you have a set of companies. There are 21 of them. And then the next step that we will do is web search. So web search is basically when AI will go to those company websites and will find all the relevant information about them. So just before we go here, the benchmark that we were doing here is for distributors of pharmaceutical products. This is based on real life scenario. So you can select companies that you want to test. You can select all of them. Here we will select the all 21 company. And we will click on Open Control Panel, and we can launch search here. That will initiate AI search for those companies, and it will then process with analyzing those company websites, understanding what those companies are doing, and preparing descriptions for those companies. The application will notify us with the status of sending the companies for the analysis, and then it will update the status of the analysis automatically. So those companies are now in progress, and we will need to wait a little bit for them to complete. You may have a question, how long does it take to analyze companies and get the initial business descriptions? It takes around 10 to 15 minutes to analyze 100 companies. And during this time, you don't have to do anything. You just need to wait. You can do other work that you have. Let's check how many companies have been analyzed so far. So 8 companies already analyzed, 11 still in progress, 2 are having some different status. So maybe while we wait, let's see what the status is. It says that analysis was unsuccessful, ignore or retry. Let's see what's happening. I will visit the company website. It seems that the website of this company is not available. It doesn't work. So default web server page, which means that this company we will not be able to analyze. What we can do here is we can just ignore it, which is most of the companies will be doing. But you may want to try to find another website and then rerun the search if maybe there is another website for this company. Let's check another one. This one, Poland, also unsuccessful. Let's see. Okay, this company does have a website. But it seems that the description is extremely short. It has some data, but there are just this basically it's just 2 sentences, and then AI made a decision to say that there is insufficient information, ignore this company, which I agree with. Let's now click on update status once again and see if all the analysis is completed. All right, now all the analysis is completed. So we have 3 companies that don't have good websites or don't have working websites at all, and therefore we will just ignore them for now. And then we have received the company data or the descriptions of each company. So here you can see the first AI results of the work. You have a well-written, detailed, up-to-date description of each company, including business description, product services description, functional profile description, and corporate structure and affiliation information, which may help to identify any non-independence. And we can take it from there and move to the next step. So we have that all pulled for most of the companies, all the companies that had available data or available websites. So we go to accept and reject. And here we can test the companies for comparability. To do that, we need to select the companies we want to test the same way we were selecting companies for web search. And we will set the criteria for accepting and rejecting companies. That's where we need to define ideal products and services. Product services we want to reject, ideal functional profile, and functions and activities we want to reject. So in this example, we were looking for companies involved in medicine and drugs. That's the product comparability. And we wanted to reject companies that are not involved in medicine and drugs, and we wanted to reject companies that are involved in cosmetics and medical equipment. Okay, let's drop medical equipment for now. What are functional profiles? So we were looking for distributors and wholesalers, and we were rejecting manufacturers, retailers, and R&D activities. And our product also has a presets, so you can select from a library of different strategies and use them in your benchmarks. After doing that, what we will do, we will launch accept reject tests, and that should take us just a couple of minutes to complete. It's much faster than web search. Are we sure we want to test those 15 companies? Yes, we are. All right, it started, and well, I'm not sure why we went with 15, because there were a few others. Let's add every company, because I think some of them were accidentally deselected. This one was ready. So for those companies that don't have data, it will tell you, well, don't do that for those companies. And we will therefore run search for companies that we haven't selected in the first place. Yeah, there were a few of them, just a couple. Yep, launch. This step takes around 5 to 10 minutes to process 100 companies for accept and reject. And in practice, how we do that, that's where the CoPilot mode comes in, is that you don't do the whole strategy, you don't do the whole accept reject metrics for hundreds of companies. at the same time from the very beginning. What you are doing, you are selecting the first 10, maybe 20 companies, and then you apply your strategy to this small set first before you do that for all 100, 200 companies that you have. This way, you are getting a small set of the results, and that allows you to review the first 20 or whatever number of companies you applied first to understand if the strategy that you're applying is correct. Because maybe you look at AI results and you're like, okay, it seems that cosmetics is not something we want to reject, because let's say all the distributors of pharmaceutical products also sell some cosmetics. So rejecting cosmetics is narrowing our search too much. You go back to set criteria, change the criteria, and rerun the search. And then only after you feel comfortable with the strategy, you are applying it to all hundreds of companies. We're almost done. There's only one company left that is still in progress. Let's get the results and see how they look like. All right, and now we have the accept reject matrix created by AI. So we have product comparability, functional comparability, and independence comparability or independence criteria. Then for each of the criteria, we have either accept or reject by AI, and then we have comment explaining each AI decision, which documents why AI is making one or another. And let's just maybe have a look at a couple of companies. So for example, Sigma Pharmaceuticals, we added a website for that one. Company is involved in the pharmaceutical industry, offering medicines and drugs. Good, it's accept. And then company was rejected because it provides clinical trials and contract repackaging services, which is closer to manufacturing and R&D, it seems, than to distribution, and therefore it was rejected. And then let's have a look at some other example. For example, let's have a look at that Italian company called Farmaceutica Mito, and then it was rejected because it was involved in acquisition and management of pharmacies, which seems to be far from distribution and wholesale, and it's also a subsidiary within the Solpharma Mora Group. Okay, that makes sense. And then for each company, we also have final AI suggestion, either accept or reject, and then the description of combination of the reasons why it was rejected, if it was. But that's not all, right? So that's AI results. And then we have a special step, which is called human review. That's something we added recently. And human review guides you through the process of reviewing AI results. So you have a column which says human review, suggestion, how important it is to review for a human. And there are several categories like important, suggested, or optional. And then you can change the status from not reviewed to reviewed. And then how it actually works is that you can first look only at important to review, and then why companies are important to review. So one of the reasons why it is important is that, for example, if the company is accept, so it is accepted in all criteria, then it is important to review it. Why? Because it will have a substantial effect on the final result. So if you reject this company, then it will fall out of the rejection of the final set. If the company is rejected only on one criteria, then if you as a human change the rejection to acceptance, then this company can be added to the range, and then it may substantially change the results. So that's why it's important to look at important review companies. Accept or reject. So let's assume you are reading this again. You're like, okay, so here is the rejection reason: company provides clinical trials and contract repackaging services. Can I confirm that rejection reason? So what I can do, I can go to the company website and to verify if I agree. And perhaps I disagree. So for some reason, I think that's okay, and I will accept the company. And then I can also change the description here. For example, company is a distributor. So the chance of doing that is pretty low, but well, that happens. And then what you can do, you can then highlight manual changes afterwards. So you can first change the status to reviewed, and then highlight manual changes. As you see, it's now highlighting with black the changes that we have made, and therefore it will easy for us then to track what changes we have made to AI. And then we are getting to the final results. That's our final set. We have all the companies here, all the final decisions after AI reviews. We have all the information received from the internet, including quality of sources, all the sources tracked, and then we can download this file as Excel and use it in our benchmarking process. That's in short how we do AI benchmarking studies with arm's-length AI. It's very effective and streamlined process, saves you substantial time, and we will talk about other benefits shortly. All right, and now let's talk about the benefits of using AI benchmarks by arm's-length AI and applying this technology to your in your practice. I will talk about that in meme form, so stay with me. And we call it AI-enabled benchmark and compare it with human-only benchmark. So you don't use the product, you just do it everything manual versus you are working with AI. This is the first point. Comparables reviewed on Tuesday morning are very different, and the quality of the review is very different to what is done on Friday evening. What I want to illustrate here is the idea that human performance, especially in high-intensive tasks and big volume of tasks, tend to fluctuate. If you are well-rested, concentrated, and dedicated, then your benchmarking manual reviews will be more accurate, more consistent, and generally better. While if you are tired, distracted, and just don't have enough time, then the quality of your reviews may be much worse. And then you can multiply that by number of people that you have in your team that are doing benchmarking studies. And from that fact, you are getting very inconsistent results often. And then AI is not getting tired, right? So AI is eliminating most of manual work and then gives you a much bigger leverage and gives you much more consistent results that you can verify in a fraction of time. And then you're getting consistency on the initial analysis and then much higher consistency on the review side, because again, review it also takes much less time with AI because it tracks everything and shows you how it made the decisions. The next point is that benchmarking workloads tend to fluctuate. So many times you may have an urgent need to do several benchmarking studies at the same time. Like in 1 week, you have 5, 10 benchmarking studies to do, and then in another 2 months, you don't have any benchmarks to do. As a result, you often need to allocate people to do benchmarking studies who shouldn't do them in the first place because, well, they are overqualified, for example, for that. And therefore, or you need to have always a capacity to get to the highest workload and deliver on time. That's why AI is basically eliminating this bottleneck, because you always have this capability and capacity to expand the volume of the work that you need to do with the help of AI. So that's a significant benefit, which again, when working with TPA Global, we notice that sometimes you may have a very high workload, and that's where our product is especially useful. Then AI can help you eliminate waiting time and redundant time, because as a manager or as a head of a particular project in transfer pricing, you are responsible for launching the benchmark, but then most of the work is done by someone else, typically, most manual reviews, and then you still sit and wait, and then you wait, and then you get the results, and then you go through the results, and then you're not happy, you think that your colleagues misunderstood the requirements, then you need to come back to them and say, rerun your benchmark again with new criteria, and then it takes time, and then the length of the project is going up. And with AI, you're getting the results very fast. So it's a matter of few hours to complete the benchmark. You are iterating and you're getting the immediate feedback on like how your strategy is applied. You can rerun different companies with different strategies, and you don't need to wait for others to complete those tasks. So you can deliver projects much faster and just dedicate the time and deliver it end to end instead of waiting and sitting. The next point is that which relates to everything we discussed so far, and especially on the consistency side, tax authorities sometimes do challenge your benchmarking studies, and they will try to find wrong comparables when reviewing your benchmarking studies. Since AI is applying its the criteria and the review strategy much more consistently, the chance of AI getting things wrong is generally lower than the human. As a result, your benchmarks become more robust, and tax authorities will have difficulties challenging your benchmark based on inconsistency results. We have spotted that several times with Mate when doing the testing, is where AI was able to discover various areas, for example, independence in particular, where since it has more time, because obviously AI time is not limited, it had a chance to read, for example, privacy policies of potentially comparable companies and discover the fact that the company is a group, for example, and has subsidiaries or has parent companies. While if you just go with a quick human review, like it's typically done, then you would never know that. So those type of situations is where AI is helpful. It can discover certain areas where humans will skip them, and at the same time, it will apply criteria much more consistently. And then the last point is this meme, I like it. Why did you accept this comparable while rejecting a similar one? And then consultant is like, well, I don't know. It seemed to me that since it mentions this product on the first page, and in another case, it mentioned the same product on the second page, the second company is taking this product less seriously, and therefore I decided to reject it because it just like how I subjectively assess that. So AI is much more objective and can provide you with proof points and with substantiation behind the decisions, while humans will have very difficult times documenting every decision that they make and keep it consistent. That's the last one. And there are other areas, obviously, but those are the key ones that we wanted to discuss. And then, Mate, I'll be handing over to you, because as the first user, you had this, you have this experience, and you also have some concerns, and you had some concerns when you started using it. And yes. Maybe you can just walk us through the main concerns that you had.
Yes, thank you very much, Boris. So as everyone can anticipate, there are some concerns regarding AI. So what happens, what's the efficiency of the AI, for example? So is it able to analyze each and every single company which I have in my data set, what I just extracted from, for example, from the TP Catalyst database? I can say that it's very efficient in this sense. So the AI is able to review 90% of the companies. In the cases when it's not able to review it, it can occur for different various reasons. For example, it can happen that the website provided by the TP Catalyst database is not available anymore, so therefore it can be scripted. Or there are websites which are having like policies to not be scriptable, therefore the AI cannot do anything with it. Or there is a third example when the company information is basically on pictures, therefore the AI is not necessarily able to script those kind of informations, but usually 90% of the companies can be reviewed by the AI. So if I take an example with 200 companies, for example, that means I only have to review approximately 20 companies manually.
All right, thank you, Mate. That's true, and it varies depending on the type of the benchmarking studies that you're doing, the geography that you're using. You mentioned very interesting use case of that Asian companies which tend to make pictures of their texts for whatever reason. Very interesting. I hope they stop doing that, but probably we will just need to find a way to work with that. There are some ideas, and obviously we're working on that. But I think you're right that, again, if we're thinking from this CoPilot mode perspective, that you're a centaur, not just like AI is to do everything in every case, it is still 90% effective, right? And what that means is that if you can save 90% of time on accessing the companies and reading them and analyzing them, then it's true that it doesn't work in 100% of cases, but it still works in 90% of cases, which is okay in this problem, basically. And if on the graph below, I'm showing the statistics of how many companies does AI able to analyze over time. When we started, it was around 73%, and we had around 27% failures. And then now, the last measurement we've done, and it's actually not the latest one, so we just didn't do the test yet, is 92%, and it will increase over time, right? So we are pretty sure we will get to 98% over the next 3 months. It's a technical problem. It's not the limitation of the technology itself. It's a matter of finding the right solution to right unique problems. Sometimes some companies are doing very unique websites.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next one.
Yes, so it sometimes makes mistakes. It can be true, but the thing is that this is why we had the testing period of the benchmarking tool per se, to avoid these kind of mistakes and to monitor the efficiency of the benchmarking tool. At first, of course, it wasn't as accurate as it is right now, but I can say that the accuracy level of the benchmarking tool in this sense is around also 95% currently. So usually when it scripts, 83 to 97% of the cases. Yes, and since I'm using the tool for 2 months now already, and I was also participated in the testing period, I can verify that this percentage is correct. The tool is indeed very efficient when it comes to scraping and to make decisions.
Yeah, and you probably, Mate, you can also remember that it also depends on how accurate of a strategy you're setting.
Yes. Also, that's a critical point of every benchmark. So if I take just a regular benchmark, what we are doing in an Excel file from including the manual review, financial analysis, everything, in that cases, it's also important to have a very clear view that what is your search criteria, what are the functions, services, products, etc., what you are looking for, and what are those services, functions, or products which are not comparable at all to the benchmarking study. So when it comes to the AI tool, we also have to be very strict with the products, services, functions, what we can accept and what we can reject. And the stricter we are, the more accurate results we are going to get in the end of the manual review.
Yeah, that's right. And I think the most interesting finding is that we were using some benchmarks at the early testing phase where it was like just a typical benchmark, and then we were using a benchmark which was very deliberately made to be very accurate and supported, right? Like your average benchmark and your best case benchmark. And then we were comparing the initial performance with the best case, obviously, but also we were comparing it with like the average human, basically, benchmark. And then with average human, it was correct more often than humans in many situations on most of criteria. And here you see the percentage of accuracy. This is on the I think independence criteria currently, but no, sorry, it's final accept reject conclusion match, right? Like that's the most important. If a human done a benchmark and then AI did the benchmark, and then you compare the final decision on each company, accept or reject, with 2 sets, then the overlap now is close to 97%. And we believe that we will make it almost flawless in the next 3 to 6 months. But as you have seen in the demo, we are building it in a way where we are driving human to verify AI results in a particular way, highlighting particular areas you want to look into to make sure that the final result is accurate. That's what we care about.
Yes, also it can be a very important concern that what will the tax authorities say when we are giving them a benchmark saying that it was prepared with AI, but it's not by AI, sorry, but it's not prepared by AI, it's still prepared by humans. AI is just a supporting system to make our life easier when it comes to benchmarking in the first place. So that effectively means that we are only using AI mostly to save time and to increase accuracy, and through that to save costs as well, because benchmarking requires some cost, because there are employees who are preparing these benchmarking studies, and it can take a lot of time. So that's why it's more like a support. It's not completely AI. It's more like that that we using AI to support our final decision making, but the human presence is still very important. So we also need to verify the decisions made by the AI in the case of accepted and rejected companies as well. Not everyone, because as we stated before, the accuracy rate of the tool is very high. So but still, human review is important, and it's always going to be important when it comes to benchmarking. That cannot be replaced by AI, even in the long run.
Yeah, that's true. You can think about using it as a productivity tool. It's like Googling, basically. So it just makes all the process more efficient, but it doesn't replace the human. All the final decisions are still with humans. And what also you need to remember is that everyone will be using it, including tax authorities, over time. Just to support this, KPMG recently published some news that they have patented AI tool for transfer pricing. And if you read the patent, it's actually about comparability analysis and comparable search. It's a different technology than what we are building, but just to illustrate that biggest players, and I've been talking to a lot of Big Four partners recently, will be implementing it. And then if they do, then everyone else will follow. That's how typically it happens in our industry. And the reason why it will happen is not only because of the cost, but just because AI-made benchmarks will be better than human-made benchmarks. Now, Mate, over to you also for your story about how TPA Global started using it.
Yes, thank you, Boris. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we were working with Boris on the development and testing on the tool, and also we started the implementation of the tool in January this year. But the initial contact happened in November, when we just sat down together, me, Boris, and some other people, to discuss how we can utilize such tool in our internal process. And from that standpoint, we started to cooperating with each other and working out different solutions to make the tool more efficient. Then we started the testing and the prototyping. We ran various benchmarks for different activities. We ran for manufacturing, distribution, financial services, IT services, general management services, etc., etc. And of course, we tested the accuracy rate. We always took benchmarks what we had performed before, and we verified the outcomes of the AI through our existing benchmarks. And the accuracy rate was increasing significantly between November, December, and January. So from January onwards, we started real-life application. I think the kickoff was in the second week of January. I'm not sure anymore. And we were able to process approximately 5,000 companies within a week with the help of the tool. If I recall correctly, 4 people were working on it together for a week. So this also states the advantage for the tool, basically.
Yeah. And to be fair, when I've seen that there were more than 3,000 comparables processed in a few days, I was a little bit scared because I wasn't sure if that would work. I mean, from a technical perspective, because there are obvious limitations on the use of AI, for example, and how much you can process. But fortunately, we made it work pretty fast.
Yes. And then the enhancement and the scale. So since we start implementing the product and using in real life, we are in close contact with Boris on a daily basis to, if any feedbacks comes from anyone, any inconsistency spotted, and the tool itself through Boris is continuously improving in accuracy, in user interface, in various other segments as well. So we are so far very happy with it, and we're able to save costs and a significant amount of time by increasing accuracy. Our clients are also happy with us. So intermediate results, as I've said, there is a significant reduction in the preparation of the benchmarks. We at TPA usually run this 250, 300 comparables in one set. So before the tool, we spent 15 to 20 hours to manually review one benchmark. It's just the manual review part. It does not consist of financial analysis, the preparation of the write-up, formatting, etc. It's just the manual review itself. But since we started applying the tool, we are able to process the same amount of companies within 4 to 5 hours, including the related analysis and the write-up as well. So with an error rate of 5 to 10%. So if I take, for example, an example of 200 comparables in the set, that means we need to manually review approximately 10 to 20 companies, which takes not more than an hour usually. Other than this, as I said before, with the application of the tool, we were able to reduce our internal costs and also to increase the availability of the employees, enabling them to focus on other tasks which are not necessarily related to benchmarking, for example, preparation of local files, master files, CBCRs, APAs, etc.
Right. Thanks, Mate.
You're welcome.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's from my side, it's a very positive journey with TPA. I'm very happy to have such enthusiastic and open-minded partners who really took this seriously and seen a lot of early benefits and took this technology together with me to the stage where it is now. And obviously, it's just the beginning. So let's just quickly touch on practical steps and like, is it relevant for you? Is it right for you? Should you try? How? When? Etc. So a few practical questions that you could ask yourself before you consider this. The first question is like, do you actually do benchmarking studies? And if the answer is yes, we do benchmarking studies or we perform manual reviews, then this technology can be useful for you. But also, if you receive a lot of benchmarking studies, so for example, you're a multinational and you want to verify your advisor's work, and that tool can also be very helpful because you can rerun the benchmark in a few hours or even less time to see if how robust is your benchmarking study. And there are a few other scenarios, but the main thing is like you need to work with a lot of benchmarking studies to start with, because if you don't do benchmarking studies or don't have benchmarking studies on your plate, then probably this technology is maybe exciting but not right for you. And then the second question is like, how many benchmarks do you actually do? Because obviously that's depending on that question or that answer, the value that this technology may create for you will also fluctuate, right? So the more benchmarks you do, the more value you get. I have now another customer from India, I'm pretty sure we will be also doing a webinar with them, who process at least 2,000 companies per day now with this tool. You can imagine the amount of value that they create with this. However, if you do like 10 benchmarking studies per year, it still can be useful and you still should use it probably, but just manage expectations and just realize that like if you think that that will revolutionize all the work that you're doing, that probably is not the case. And then from there, you can arrive to the answer, do you actually need it? And if the answers to those questions are positive, then here are the few things that you can do to get started. So first, the easiest thing is just book a demo with me, and I will answer all your questions, and we'll walk you through the technology and help you to understand how it works in more detail. You can also send me your benchmarking studies that you have already done or is currently in progress, and I will do it for you for free, and you will see the results and how they look like. I just need a list of companies, including company name, company, country, and company website, and the criteria for accepting and rejecting companies. So what kind of companies are you searching for? And I will come back to you in a few hours with the results, and then you can verify them. And then the next natural step is also getting a trial access. So that's also possible. You can try using this technology and see how it works, get real-life experience before committing to anything. And to do all of that, you can go to www.armslength.ai to book a demo, and we can take it from there. At this point, I'd like to thank you for joining me today for this webinar, and I also want to express big gratitude to Mate for joining me and sharing his perspective and his insights.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mate. Take care, and bye for now.
Bye, everyone.